Welcome back to another session that is part of the CentreCourt Executive MBA Festival. I think my co-host John Byrne has just finished a session with alumni from some of the leading European business schools. And now our focus turns to the leading US exec MBA programs. My question, of course, for this festival, who might be sitting next to you in the EMBA classroom, in this case at Duke Fuqua, at Georgetown McDonough, and at Emory Goizueta. We've discussed this golden equation about you and the EMBA and the incredible opportunities, but there's also the back of a t-shirt that one of our panelists may share as you think about this commitment to your studies. I'll let them share with that later, but it's a pleasure to welcome Mary Gray Jacobson. Mary Gray is the Program Director of the Career Management Center at Fuqua. Denise Durgan, the Assistant Dean of Graduate and all Executive Degree Programs at Georgetown McDonough and for the Career Center, and Danielle Rubenstein, who's joining us from Atlanta, the Senior Director, Career Management for Alumni and MBA Working Professional Students. Maybe that sounds like you, our audience, as you tune in from all over the world and certainly from between the East and the West coasts. Perhaps we start with the schools, these world-class institutions and where the executive MBA fits within a portfolio of programs. So Mary Gray, if I can start with you, tell us a little bit about the school. Please make sure that my pronunciation of the school name is correct. I often wonder on that one. But also, some of the things that you see at the school that makes it such an incredible institution.
Absolutely. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me. Yes, it's Duke Fuqua. It's few. The joke is few are qualified to attend Duke Fuqua. Yes, we have two executive MBA programs. We have the weekend executive MBA program and the global executive MBA program. So really fabulous ways to obtain your MBA. And the thing that really stands out about Fuqua is the team Fuqua. That is part of your experience throughout your entire program is being a part of a team and teamwork and team assignments. And we also see that from the career perspective with alumni that are wanting to hire Fuquans, that are wanting to engage with Fuquans and maintain that team Fuqua spirit.
Now, I could probably, you can describe to me the average age in the classes, but if the two of us sneak into the back of one of those classrooms and just get a sense of who we might be sitting next to, they're coming from all over the country, sometimes internationally. What are the sort of personalities that we might discover that really fit with the team Fuqua that you're describing?
Yeah, so honestly, I mean, that's one of the reasons I just love working with this student population is because we've got such an incredible breadth and depth of age and stage. And so we are seeing more younger students, more in the 28 to 32, 33 profile because the job market's tough. They've got a great job, they've got a supportive employer, and they want to keep their job and perhaps make an advancement or a change of industry or function, and using the MBA as that pivot point. We also have the more senior leaders, the more truly executive leaders that are really looking to branch into the C-suite and drive their career kind of in that last, finish line. And so you see it all industries, all functions, yes, across the entire United States, and definitely with our global program, it's a global cohort with students from all over the globe. But in terms of one particular profile, I'd say that just doesn't exist because it's such a variety of students with interesting, diverse backgrounds.
Well, we'll delve into those different backgrounds. Denise, I've had a lot of practice saying the word McDonough. One of my twins both studied and worked there, loved his time, that sense of public service, but of course, such a dynamic hub. And presumably the location is part of the McDonough magic.
Definitely. It's great to be here, and it's great to be here with Danielle and Mary Gray as well. Yes, our global perspective just, as you said, just flows nicely because we are based in the nation's capital. Our program is 21 months, and we've got this year our first synchronous program with a full day session on Saturday that's online. And then we have one weekend in DC at the McDonough School of Business. And so that's a full day Friday, Saturday, and then we finish up at lunch on Sunday. And so that affords, from an admission standpoint, that affords more diversity in the classroom as it relates to geographic I would have to say that the global experiences, the 2 global residencies, one traditionally to South Korea, and then through the students' capstone that they work with the faculty research, the students just find that that is both an interesting, intriguing, and inspiring sort of turn at that point of the program when they start their global residencies. And so I think those are pretty much our strengths in terms of the program. We are, as Mary Gray mentioned, we are about 8 years to 14. Our last cohort is about 14 years experience, but we do see a little bit more diversity in the age and stage of our students. And then I wanted to mention, we also have our executive MBA program that launched in Dubai last August. And so we'll have our second cohort starting. And I also oversee that program for all things careers.
Right, so you from South Korea through Dubai, you must have lots of clocks to know what time it is for any given McDonough EMBA student. And I mean, a very qualified, talented audience, Danielle. Somebody once whispered to me that faculty love teaching the exec MBA class. I'm sure that's true at Goizueta. You know, you bring together this extraordinary breadth of experience. Tell us about the Goizueta exec MBA.
Well, thanks, Matt, and thanks for having me, and great to be with Denise and Mary Gray as well. Yes, that's one of the things I would say is that makes Goizueta unique, is that we're small by design, and so there's a lot of access to faculty. It's almost like, I like to call it the concierge service. We meet you where you are, and you're able to build relationships, not just with your cohort, which again is going to be all across the states. We have had a few international, but that's not as common. I think that transatlantic flight, like you mentioned, Matt, maybe it's quiet time, but it's also exhausting when you're thinking about the number of clocks and time that you're having to do every other weekend. We do have the hybrid online and in-person option now. So that is drawing people from all over, mostly the States as well. And it's really being in Atlanta. You know, we have a lot of relationships with different companies across Atlanta. So if anybody's interested in, if they live here and they're looking to stay or they're looking to move, it's a really great fit from that perspective as well.
Right, you're like a hub of head offices of the Fortune 500 in Atlanta. There's a long list. Is that reflected in the classroom profiles?
There it is. It is. We will have students as well as alumni that come from all of those different companies: Coca-Cola, Home Depot, UPS. You know, there's a wide variety. And like Mary Gray said earlier, when you asked about what is the personality, we do also have the relationship with Emory Healthcare. And so there's a lot of medical healthcare. You know, it's broad. You'll have the pocket of people within healthcare if that's what you're looking for, but then there's also a lot of other industries represented.
Right. I guess, Mary Gray, you described sort of a small shift in terms of, you know, in the current market, people perhaps considering they've got a great job and therefore wanting to maintain that and adding to their ambitious weekly, monthly schedules. Perhaps some candidates sort of say, well, you know, I'm only in my late 20s, or equally, you know, I'm in my early 40s, early 50s. Is there a right age, or even as you then reflect on the qualities and characteristics of each candidate, characteristics that you're looking to identify that will make great members of your community?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I don't know that there's a right age. I think it would be kind of impossible to say, you know, specifically, oh yes, at 32, you must go get your MBA. You know, historically, traditional daytime MBA students had that 5 to 7 years worth of experience, and executive MBA is usually 8 and above. But so I think it just depends on the goals of the particular student and what they're looking to do. I mean, we find across the board that generally our executive MBAs are students that are hungry to learn more. They're going back to school because they want to learn, and they're eager and excited to learn. And they're generally achievers as well. And those, you know, high performing, either in their previous undergraduate studies or definitely certainly in their careers, and just looking to elevate both their personal experience and their professional experience. I say the MBA, I mean, these are Emory and Georgetown, you know, fabulous programs. You're not going to go wrong choosing any program, the truth is an MBA in itself implies a certain level of critical thinking and leadership. And I think that is just widely known. When you see the MBA on a resume, there's certainly an association that goes with that I think that really it enhances a student's reputation and personal brand.
Right. I mean, for all three schools, you've got wonderful world-class full-time MBA programs. But Denise, the idea of combining studies with that, continued work schedule, and presumably then being able to bring all of this learning into your daily professional lives, is that a very distinct and very valuable feature of the exec MBA format?
It definitely is. It definitely, I mean, it's, I think my colleagues would say the same. It's the first couple of months, it's an adjustment to how to prioritize all of the workload, the teamwork, the commute to and from the campus. So it's, and that's something that students upon graduation or wherever they are in the program and they find themselves in a new role, it's something that they can interview towards and talk about how they've been able to level up their organization skills, their self-awareness, their teamwork, and all of that. So it does take a couple of months to get adjusted, but I'd say our cohorts start in August, and by October, students start to get their feet on the ground. We also offer support with executive and career coaching, starting right out of the gates at orientation. I've got a team of 16, including myself, that coach students, so a team of 17. And we've got specialization in leadership. We have specialization with military transitions, about 30% of our students, because we are in the nation's capital and close to so many of the federal agencies and the Pentagon. Students that are interested in shifting from the military into the private sector. We have consulting specialists, those that coach, you name it. As Danielle mentioned, there are a fair amount of healthcare professionals that are looking to level up their skills, their business skills, and we offer coaches that have that background too. So it's a nice variety, but I do think that being able to demonstrate that you can handle this extra workload just really proves that you're ready for, the next role, whether that's outside of your current firm or leveling up in being promoted within your current firm or deciding you want to be an entrepreneur. Those are typically our personas, including the military.
Right. With the sort of backgrounds, Danielle, that Mary Gray and Denise are describing, very accomplished, great experience, possibly holding, VP or senior titles. So it's almost like, wow, does this person actually need an exec MBA? Where does it fit, whether it's in healthcare or, perhaps someone has a more technical background to then bring this breadth of business thinking into the next steps of their professional development?
I think that's exactly right, Matt. I think it is about really elevating your business acumen and understanding that critical thinking. For a lot of people, it may surprise people that there are a fair number of executive MBAs who might be looking to pivot. So there are some that are looking to advance, but then there's some that are looking to pivot. And going back to healthcare again, many maybe doctors that are looking to gain expertise and understanding of the business side of healthcare, just to give that as an example. So it's, when somebody's pursuing their executive MBA, I agree completely with what my colleagues on the call have said. It's about self-growth, self-awareness, expanding leadership, also expanding networks. So the people that you're in the classroom with, that you're learning from, I almost think you're learning as much from them and their experiences as you are from the professors. So it's really, and Denise, what you said is the beginning, it's such an adjustment. And at the end, it's a family, every time. It's the bonds that are created, the network that's expanded, the knowledge that's gained. It's all a part of the EMBA experience that really elevates people.
Right. Mary Gray, I'd like to go back to a comment about the typical curiosity of your students. The viewers at CentreCourt know that I've had more than my fair share of midlife crises, and wondering where, both within the corporate setting, but equally perhaps the entrepreneur, the profiles have changed, and you talk about pivoting or transitioning. This sense of curiosity and exploring, is the exec MBA a really good way to then explore what else might be out there?
Oh gosh, absolutely. Yes, our summer's busy season. We just launched 2 new classes, and I can't tell you how many students are in that phase of I don't know what I want to do yet. I don't know what MBA roles are out there. I'm not sure. And we just being in phase of curiosity, and like Daniel mentioned, the classmates around them that are doing all these interesting things and roles that they've never heard of. And so exploring and being curious, I think is a fantastic way to enter your exec MBA. I think so many students do come in with one very specific goal, and then oftentimes that changes halfway through by the end of the program, and they're going in a completely different direction, which they never would have imagined had they not gone through an exec MBA program. And so definitely curiosity, being open to different opportunities, entrepreneurship, like Denise mentioned. I mean, we've had students that have a lot, and almost every cohort generally that students are pairing together and starting their own businesses. And so that piece we're seeing a lot more of, in that, you know, wanting to be your own boss. And so, yeah, I think just knowing that you can expect the unknown and uncertainty, and being a little bit okay with that is a fabulous attitude to embrace.
Right. Now, it'll be different, Denise, for everybody, but often at a 6-month or at an annual review, you know, you might perhaps talk about a new project that you're interested in at work, but there are maybe parameters to how far you explore. So does the exec MBA give you a safe space? You know, things that perhaps you wouldn't naturally share at work. And now you've got this incredible family, the cohort that you've all described, to be able to explore these different ideas and opportunities.
Definitely. I see those conversations happening, and the friendships that are formed, the work connections that they're making. So definitely it is a safe space. You know, I mentioned the coaching team that we have too, and it just is really part of one of our signature deliverables that we have for students, both while they're in class and as alum. So they have that safe space to talk about things that might even be happening in the classroom that are challenging, but they just need someone to bounce it off of. But also, when our coaches engage with the students, they're very outcome driven. So the question of safe space, yes, that can happen inside the classroom with the professors as well, with our support team. We are, as you know, it's a Jesuit school, so our Jesuit values, we really hone in on care for the whole person, which I'm sure my colleagues do as well. But we do that through in the classroom with the professors, but again, in the coaching team. I would have to say as well that I launched a pilot program that's going to end up scaling for the McDonough School of Business, but specifically for the executive MBAs. It's called Executive Recruiter in Residence, and I've gotten access to recruiters and search firms, top search firms that offer office hours to our students in the evening. It's a unique program. And talk about a safe space. Students, we do not record these sessions, but students can dial in and ask these search firms and recruiters things about their resume, things that they're thinking about at their careers, in their jobs. How do I contact a search firm? How can I get seen and visible on my LinkedIn profile, and all of these things? So that is another place where a safe conversation can be had with only executive MBA students. This is exclusive to EMBA students and EMBA alum.
Right. As we think about the curriculum, Danielle, and all of you have talked about, you know, such a personalized approach and this level of coaching. So, you know, they can handle balance sheets, they know how to calculate discounted cash flow. But as you put together the program, how do you find that balance that provides that level of emphasis on the individual, their well-being and mental health, as Denise was suggesting, and the person at the heart of all of that?
Yeah, I mean, again, Goizueta, these are all fabulous programs. Goizueta is smaller, right? And so we really have a chance to get to know the students at a very intimate level, and we meet them where they are. So if they're struggling in any way, there's a lot of resources across Emory. So we are always pointing them towards a variety of Emory resources. I actually have a counseling background, so if there's somebody who's really struggling, we talk through, you know, how is this impacting your work? How is this impacting your classwork? You know, what are some steps that you can take for self-care, and diving into that. You know, for career related issues, if somebody is feeling really burnt out, or if somebody is not feeling valued or not happy in your job, which you're going to every day, whether it's remote or in person, then it's going to take its toll on you, right? So a lot of it is about gaining perspective. There's different tools that we have on my coaching team that we use to help people take a wide-eyed view and really gain understanding about what are the challenges I'm facing, what are steps I can take to approach those challenges, and do I need to be looking, do I need to stay and figure things out here? So I don't know if that exactly answers your question, but we really do make sure that we're listening, understanding where that person is at, and bringing in tools and resources.
Well, we could talk about the individuals that you admit, and as you look at them 2 years, 3 years later in the journey, perhaps some of the personal characteristics of self-confidence that have emerged. All three schools have world-class faculty. There's a level of academic rigor. So Mary Gray, how do you also then ensure that as we wrestle with the impact of AI and machine learning and analytics, that, you know, this is a great time to go back and look at these different areas that are transforming business?
Yeah, I mean, it's really incredible the pace and of advancement that's happening, and from a career perspective, the options and just AI tools that we're incorporating in our programming and working with students is really quite something. And I know it's smart now, and it's only going to continue to get smarter. But yes, I think the faculty across all of these schools, it's just cutting edge research. They're in the know. They're bringing that to the classroom. And so I know there was a question earlier about the value of the MBA and being able then to, I mean, we kind of joke, yeah, what you learn on Saturday in the classroom, you take to the boardroom on Monday. And I think the faculty are staying on top of trends and research and bringing that to the students. And so it's just such a benefit, both personally and professionally, for these students who really do want to learn. I mean, they're paying a lot of money usually to obtain this degree. And so they expect great faculty. And so we have to deliver on that.
So the boardroom on Monday, Denise, and with what you were describing, working with employers, as you have those conversations with employers that see somebody has the exec MBA on their resume, what sort of feedback? Respect, obviously, for a commitment that they've made to continue to upskill, be au fait with, you know, all of these different areas. What do recruiters typically observe to you of what they love in exec MBA students?
Certainly. Well, I think it takes a certain person to be able to take on that workload, no matter where you are in your career. And so I think from that perspective, being just sort of brilliant at the basics with your organization skills, your self-awareness, your ability to roll up your sleeves and work really hard, you know, just sounds so old-fashioned, but just those great skills that employers are looking for. But then they're also looking for students that have, as the you know, my colleagues here on the call, that have a more global perspective and that can benefit from more skills in things like AI or trends that are in the marketplace in whatever industry. So to have access to those faculty and to be able to answer the interview questions and maybe use an example of something that they've accomplished in school that they were able to take into their organization. We do prep students for these type of interview questions, and we take the job description, and employers find that our students are very prepared as they talk through. And I think that our students are very humble too, which is just so refreshing and maybe sometimes too humble. You know, it's hard to talk about yourself and to sing your praises, but I think that the employers just really love the sense of humility and willingness to, you know, to do the hard work to advance. And certainly getting and earning this degree is proof that they can accomplish that in a professional way.
Right. Danielle, as the exec MBA has evolved, you know, over 10, 15, 20 years, there are so many more self-financed individuals, and often, you know, career services, the career management for alums that you and your team offer, wasn't an immediate give, certainly if people were being sponsored by employers. How has that changed? And therefore, the work that you're doing with individuals that have achieved a certain level of professional success, but now want to explore new opportunities.
Yeah, what a good question, because it has shifted a lot. So now, like we were talking about earlier, so many more are looking to pivot. They may not just be looking to advance within their own companies, they're really looking to make a shift. And going back to AI, I'd love to know, Denise and Mary Gray, I'm using it all the time with career. So I bet you all are as well, but it's like a revolution. I've been using it for 9 months and thinking about how I used to coach and how I now coach with AI. So when somebody comes in and they're not sponsored by their company and they're trying to figure out, what do I really want to do next? Maybe my values have changed and what was important to me 5 years ago is totally different now. But I don't know what's out there because I've been working in this area for X number of years. And so really helping them explore who they are. So it starts with that self-assessment. Who are you? What are you good at? What are you interested in? What's important to you? And then looking at the market and saying what matches me. And I use AI all the time for these exploration tools. So it's really shifted a lot in terms of, the mentality of people that come in with their executive and pursuing their executive MBA. And so as a career center, we've had to shift as well and really meet them where they are.
You've emphasized, Mary Gray, Team Fuqua, and I can remember in a CentreCourt of a couple of years ago, a Fuqua graduate from 2009, so came into a global economic meltdown and said, facing those sort of challenges, but doing it as a community and the support and the resources. So how do alumni and that wider network, the team that you emphasize, how do they then play a role as people are navigating the next steps of their career?
Yeah, I mean, it's networking is always been critical, but now it's just essential. I mean, I've heard from a Google recruiter recently, they got 17,000 job applications for one job, and being able to funnel down to those two final candidates, you're not going to get in unless it like I believe it was Danielle that mentioned earlier, the network that you're getting into. And so our alum community working with coaches on the career services team to communicate effectively what it is that you bring to your team. What is your value proposition? Why would an employer want to hire you? And then going out and talking to people. And a part of that curiosity exploratory piece can be talking to people that are in jobs that they think they might be interested in. And then others that are, oh, actually, I know I want to go work for this company. Let me dig in and talk to a current employer there, employee that's an alum at that organization. So I think it spans across all different, it's just a wide range of how we tap into the alumni community, but it's critical. And I think it's true probably across all programs. It's really about, who and landing that next job, but also about exploring and deciding, okay, this sounds like a really interesting role that you're doing. Would that be something that I would want to explore and learning more that way too through alumni?
Right. And very mindfully, Denise, taking the EMBA students to South Korea, or as you think about the Dubai campus and how that extends the global mindset and the footprint of the school, is that something that you're very conscious of preparing individuals for a future workplace that will have these international dimensions?
Oh, definitely. I think the diversity in the classroom really is an advantage for the students to learn from different perspectives, learn from different functional roles from industry. So yes, definitely. And in a short answer.
Right. Yeah, no, that's absolutely clear. And of course, later we'll have alums from all three of your programs. Perhaps someone will be talking about that sort of experience and how that's stimulated different opportunities that they've now followed. You've all touched upon perhaps some of the practical realities. Danielle, you might have a concierge to be able to shepherd them and support them through this process, but it's still a big commitment. Individuals that have busy professional lives. I think on the last session, someone said they had one of the students had grandchildren. I was even just stopping with kids, right? You might have family beyond your work commitments. So how do you like to talk with potential candidates about those realities and what they're looking to prioritize and organize that will successfully get them through the program?
Yeah, what people who have made it through the program always say is their phone calendar is their best friend. So whether it's their phone, or if they're more inclined to have a paper calendar, they really map out where they need to be on certain days. And they also, the biggest thing that I've heard as well is that they communicate with all of the important people in their lives. So they are really setting clear expectations and boundaries from the onset. So whether that's your employer and saying, listen, I'm pursuing this, thank you, for engaging in my professional development in this way. There will be times throughout this semester where I may not be able to be here on this particular day, and I'm asking for your, acceptance on that. So it's and also with your family, if you've got a family, I will be able on these days to help and pitch in all these different ways. And at these particular times, I may not be able to as much. And I appreciate your understanding about that as well. So it's the scheduling, the time management, and the communication that is really, really important.
Right. Mary Gray, on January the 1st, I'll sit down and think, right, must be more organized, must better prioritize, must not say yes to everything. And then I need to repeat that 364 other days of the year. With what Danielle was saying in sort of setting that groundwork, is it then tangible as you see students going through the program, how their time management, their sense of priorities is also developing?
Absolutely. I mean, I think right from the beginning, generally students, they feel like they're drinking from a fire hose. For most of them, it's been years since they've been in a school setting, and having to sit down and listen to a professor speak. I mean, we're used to, sitting down and watching a 30-second Instagram reel. And so really getting into that mindset of, okay, I've got to pay attention and this matters. Absolutely. So I think certainly as the terms progress, they get more comfortable. Like Danielle mentioned, communication is essential also within their teams. Hey, I've got a really busy week at work this week. I'm not going to be able, I'm not going to pull my weight on the project, but count on me next project. That kind of thing I think is essential. And so I think too, as the students become closer and they understand each other's strengths and their weaknesses and how they can pull together, is really one thing that is just propels them forward and allows them to continue and navigate all the different things that they have going on in their lives. I mean, from a career perspective, that's always our biggest challenge is competing for the students' time. And so certainly they do learn how to navigate it. But from a career perspective, also oftentimes it is, okay, I've 12 months under my belt, about to graduate, and now I'm ready to start thinking about my job search. And so really prioritizing what matters. And I think that gets easier as they progress within their program.
So in our Olympic week, and Denise, my admiration for a marathon that you've run, I invite you to share with the viewers what was written on the back of that T-shirt. But also, as I think of an individual that himself enjoyed a very successful career in Washington, D.C., and said, we don't do it because it's easy. We do it because it's hard. Maybe I could sign up for a Coursera course on AI, but is that investment that you're making, is that where part of the rewards lie?
I think so. I think once the students make the financial investment, that's just sort of set aside. And now it's just the investment in what are my desired outcomes? Why have I taken the time to commit myself to this degree program? And what am I looking to achieve? How can I describe myself as a Georgetown alum to a prospective employer? What are the top 3 things that I took away from the program? And I would have to say, back to the comment about the T-shirt, students come to the Career Center either right away knowing what they want, or maybe they're having a work challenge, or they want to move up or out of their organization, et cetera, launch a business. So about a third, and then the third are partway through, and then the rest are, geez, it's ready. I'm almost ready to graduate, and I haven't taken advantage of the Career Center because I was just trying to get all of this stuff done, life, work, my studies, et cetera. And so I would have to say, right around this time, our students just got back from South Korea last week, and right around this time, it's kind of like mile 20 at the marathon that I ran. And when I was at about mile 20, I saw a T-shirt in front of me that said, at the time, I thought it was a good idea because you're committed. You're in the mile 20 and you just have to run a 10K, but you can't look at it that way. You have to realize that you've just run 20 miles, and it's very similar to the students. Like, I've made it this far. I've made it a whole 12 months. So I can actually see the finish line, and they have these relationships to lean into, whether it's themselves, the professors, myself in the Career Center, the coaches. It just is very natural depending upon what the students want to achieve.
Right. Danielle, with that small cohort, you get to see the individual sense of accomplishment, the self-confidence. Sometimes perhaps with a full-time MBA, there's this distinct career break, and then you look at salaries 3 years out of the full-time MBA program and try to calculate ROI. As you think of it in terms of the exec MBA, what are some of the metrics and measures that you like to use, perhaps as a person continues to advance in the company that they started with versus some of the pivots that you've also been describing? What do you see as some of the great measures of the program?
Yeah, I think it's really, I would say self-growth, professional growth. What have you learned? How have you been able to apply a new way of thinking, a new process, a new, maybe you were working on a project and you would have done it one way a year ago. And because of the executive MBA, because of learning from your classmates, because of the learning from your professors, you now have a new approach of being able to do it. So it's hard, I'll be honest. I bet my colleagues struggle with this as well. It's really hard to track salaries. So that data is not, we try so hard, but it just is not easy to capture on a regular basis. And so when we do, it's hard to extrapolate and say, okay, this is clearly, data that is reliable and valid. But what I will say in general is anybody who's completed that executive MBA, they walk away saying, I have grown and learned so much. I have expanded my network. I understand more about my own leadership style, my own ability to work on a team, my communication with people at all levels of an organization, my presentation skills. So while they're not as specific as number data, I would say those are metrics that can easily be seen and measured.
Well, we're all running this race together, so we'll share the challenge between the four of us. Mary Gray, no doubt someone would say, well, it's already earning a very good living, and it's increased by a further 55, 65, 85%. But if they probably listed 1, 2, or 3 things that they felt that they really benefited from in the program, what do you think that they would share? Their metrics, their measures?
I think relationships would be number one. The relationships that they've created, most of them would say these are lifelong friendships and colleagues that they can turn to for both personal and professional needs or conversations. Certainly relationships. I also think just the business acumen. Generally, people are looking to expand and improve upon their business acumen, and so being able to smartly and accurately manage those challenges from a business perspective, I think is critical, and it's certainly something they walk away with. And finally, I'd say probably just the network. I mean, you go to school to expand your network, to get to know more people, to expand your network. So I think those are the 3 things that students walk away with.
Right. With the diversity that you all prize, Denise, one final question. Everyone sounds so talented, and they're all such high achievers. Where's my place in the class like that? I have a less traditional profile. There are fewer women in the exec MBA, which are all working to achieve stronger gender balance. Your sort of words of encouragement when someone wonders if they fit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do think that happens, and it happens earlier in the program. And I've coached students, and I'm sure my colleagues have too, where, maybe this is too much. Maybe I shouldn't have done all of this, back to the t-shirt. I'm not sure I'm ready and prepped up for this. And we're able to have those one-on-one conversations with students because they know the resources and where to go to have those conversations. So I think that it's more about the workload and not necessarily fitting into the actual cohort. I think people are wanting to get to know each other, to help each other, to lean on their strengths. One of our students, we have student reps, 3 student reps, one for careers, one for admissions, and one for our marketing and communications team. And so the career rep put together a spreadsheet of here's all the industries, here are our strengths, and if I wanted to help a fellow student, what is my my superpower, what is my specialty? And so they shared that with themselves as something they created. They shared it with me. So if someone is very, very strong in Excel and somebody isn't, they knew to go to Bob for this or Jane for that. And so I think that kind of creativity and teamwork and ability to lean on each other, it's not a headline, it's not a cliche, it really does happen. And if it doesn't happen somehow within the cohort itself, then the students can come and talk to us. And it's nice to see a recent example of someone that did come and talk to me about that. And then right as he was graduating, got this incredible new role. And I said, how do you feel about all that? And he's just so proud that he hung in there, and then we prepped him for the role and he earned it, his education and his ability to show that he's ready for this next level. So I'll end it with that.
Well, it brings us back to the humility that you were describing in your community, your students earlier. So if dial 3 for the Goizueta concierge, I will include that now on my speed dial. But for viewers that that want to find out more about the Goizueta program, Danielle, what are the touch points? Where do you encourage them to start?
Yeah, I always encourage them to start at the website. So everything is on our website, goizueta.emory.edu, and go to the admissions site. You can sign up for mailing lists. So there's emails that are sent out about different events that are happening or different people to contact. So any questions that you might have, then start with the website. If you can't find information, there's a whole team of admissions, my colleagues that you can reach out to. It's a wonderful group of people who are also concierge type of service. They're very responsive, very invested. So don't hesitate to reach out to them. And then people can reach out to me as well. I can always point them in the right direction depending on what their questions are and their goals are.
Right. And Mary Gray, if you get an invitation to discuss with a candidate at Amy's Ice Cream, I can only recommend saying yes to that invitation. But yeah, it's the same question, I guess, of next steps, and you're just getting a better sense of the personality and culture of Fuqua.
Yeah, so similar to Danielle, website, reaching out to admissions. We oftentimes a lot of our execs like to talk to former or to talk to alumni that have been in similar positions or looking to make similar moves. And so we do our best to try and make those connections happen. But yeah, I think just deciding for yourself, I think we see so many students who they say, I'm getting my MBA is something I've always wanted to do. And so if you're at that place right now where you've decided it is the right time, then certainly, yes, you can reach out to our admissions team and me, and we can certainly help you find answers to your questions and get you set up. There's lots of events and things for potential students.
Right. Well, the session that follows, my co-host John Byrne will be sitting down with alums from all 3 of the schools, and that's going to be a fantastic discussion. I'm sure we'll pick up on so many of the different aspects that you have described. I know, Denise, that you have class on a Sunday morning, so otherwise I'd have been cheering for you by the side of the marathon in Paris. But for all 3 of you, you've made this a wonderful run together. I loved the last 45 minutes and everything that you've shared, that warmth and excitement about such great programs, such great institutions, and the people that make them such great places. So Mary Gray, Danielle, Denise, thank you very much for joining us at the CentreCourt Festival.
Thank you so much.
Certainly. Thanks for having us.